All right, take a drive with me to Recoil. I gotta go drop off parts and pick up parts. Okay, so there's some policies that I've enacted over the years. Again, it's one of those things where you just try to make the best decision you can based on your experience. Sometimes that's anecdotal, meaning that it's not a scientific fact, but you do it anyway because in your experience it works. So one of the things is banning people. So it's not like I don't know. Well, I was gonna say it's not about like the way the Sundown did it, but I understand why Sundown does it. It's about a relationship that you want to really. Business is about relationships. It's not really about money. It's not even about stuff. It's about relationships. And one of the policies that I have is when somebody, for whatever reason, wants a refund. If I can do it, I will do it. If I can't, I won't. But at that point, the relationship is ruined, in my opinion. And it's like, like if you're dating somebody and you have a bad date, they may turn out to be somebody great and it was just a bad date. But it's probably not a good idea to go on another date. I mean, if you want to do that, go for it. So, but in my experience, that's not a good idea. So, but I had a guy, he had a DD 9900 15-inch. He had a pair of them. He wanted to recone them. We went over the specs and everything like that. We got his address, got him into my phone. Everything's good. And I think it came out to like $270 for parts if he wanted to do parts. And then $350 each if he wanted me to build him a top assembly. Oh, that's right. I think it was, yeah, I think he wanted to go bigger and he wanted more excursion as well. So, let me see. Let me get over a little bit. So, yeah. So it was $350 for a bolt-on top assembly. Now, a bolt-on top assembly means all you have to do is bolt it on. You don't have to grind anything. You don't have to glue anything. It just bolts on, and it's done. And those I can test here. So I back those up with a 3-year warranty because I know it's done right. Excuse me. And so he goes ahead and sends me $350. And then he's like, well, I thought that was for both. I'm like, no, that's not for both. Like right away, that tells me this guy has, again, it's clients that have DD, it's clients that have JL. Like sometimes they get the parts and they don't realize that just maintaining these things is fucking expensive. And but anyways, my prices are still below Lord of Base, and he ends up texting DD directly, and they were able to get him a used frame, which was an upgrade from a 15 to an 18, and all the soft parts for I think like 530, 528, something like that for the pair. And the problem with that as well, which is cheaper. Yes, it is cheaper, but that's a drop-in kit, and that's for him to do it himself. So it is cheaper, and good for him if that's he felt like he bit off more than he could chew, or he felt like he bought something he didn't mean to buy. That's fine. It's important for him to learn. The policy that I have though is that if I have to do a refund, then the relationship's ruined, and I don't want to do anything with you ever. And if it turns out you end up being a millionaire or whatever, and then you're like, ha, you lost it, that's fine. I'm okay with that. I've actually run into that many times. I had one guy that this is back in like 07, 06. He bought 2 of the Brahma 15s from me. When I put the gaskets on, I didn't really you know, pay attention, and I didn't line up the holes. And the guy put not one, not two, but 3 drywall screws directly into the frame. Got frustrated and sent them back and demanded a refund. And I was like, yep, you betcha I'm going to give you a refund, because you're too dumb to own this stuff. And he got really mad. And then he like, years later, he's like, he calls me from, of course, a new number, because a lot of times when I ban somebody, I'll put them in my phone as whatever, with first name, last name, and then banned at the end. And so he calls me from a new number, and I think I was in the car with Sherry, and we both had a good laugh afterwards, because he was like, I don't know if he was drunk or he's just retarded, but he was like, yeah, you know who you're talking to? I was like, nope, I have no idea. He's like, this is, I'll just use Mike. He goes, this is Mike from Illinois. And I was like, okay. Like, I still don't remember. And that seemed to piss him off even more. And then he's like, you said I was too dumb to own your equipment. I go, yeah, you're still too dumb to own my equipment. And you know, he was like, I just spent whatever. I think it was like $4,000 or something like that on some system, whatever. And it's probably DD or something like that. I was like, good job, man. Good for you. I'm glad you found somebody that is willing to put up with your dumb shit. And of course, you know, that pisses him off even more, and all this other stuff. So, but what was it? So back to the DD deal. It's like, you got to understand, I want people to do your research before I don't want anybody to make an impulse buy. Impulse buys are never a good idea, right? That's why they put candy near the checkout, and also why they put candy down low is because they know if you're with kids, your kids are going to exploit you. They know that your kids are going to beg for candy because it's right in front of their face. And they also know that you're a weak piece of shit, and you're gonna grab a candy bar. So that's why they do it. They're exploiting you. They're exploiting your children and to sell candy, you know. And you're like, oh, it's just harmless. It's not a 50-cent candy bar anymore. It's a $1.50 candy bar now. But you know, if you don't mind being exploited like that, then good for you. That's fine. I just want you to be aware of it. I just don't want you to walk into it blindly. Oh shit, I gotta get all the way over. I forgot the 32nd Street exit is still closed. So, anyways, who was the other one? The other one, I will call him Mr. Green. He doesn't use social media because he's like, hey, I'm interested in doing the buy-in for blackjack. I was like, okay, it's $2,100, and I just recommend that you use it as credit. Don't use it as like don't think that you have to buy something, right? And that you have to inventory it. One of the downsides of having an inventory is that it's not always what your customer wants, right? You don't think of that. You're like, oh, this is such a hot item, it's going to sell. Good luck with that. I always recommend that you use OPM, which is other people's money. Like if you again, you have to be trustworthy, which is sometimes difficult, and it's also sometimes there's sometimes raised expectations on that of the customer. When you're like, hey, it's gonna be like 2 weeks. It's gonna be 2 weeks before I can get it here, and then a week goes by and he's like, I really need that stereo stuff, and you're just like, oh shit, this guy. But I'm having to go all the way over. There's a clear spot. Good. So anyway, it was Mr. Green. So Mr. Green wanted to do the buy-in. I said it's $2,100, and he doesn't have social media. So because the first thing I did was I sent the link to the Blackjack Audio Instagram page, and I said, hey, check out the items that we have that are pretty popular. And he's like, I don't use social media. And that's the first red flag. It's not that you have to be on social media. It's just that it's a very powerful tool. You don't even have to like social media. In fact, you're actually watching this on social media. The YouTube is a social media website. It's not as demanding on your interaction, but it is definitely interactive. You can leave comments, you can reply with videos, you can send me links, you can do all kinds of stuff. You don't necessarily are able to post like emojis and bullshit like that, but whatever. Well, yeah, YouTube is definitely a social media website, but I find it odd that someone wants to do business and not have social media. So it's sort of like, saying that you want to be, I don't know, an industrialist, somebody that runs a factory and all that stuff. And then you're like, I don't believe in electricity. You're like, oh, okay. So, but anyways, he says he doesn't want to use social media, or he's not on social media. So my recommendation is that even if you don't like social media, you should still have and be on social media in order to network and gather customers. So, because it's the other thing is that, if you think you're that powerful in your local area that you don't need to advertise, I would argue against that as well. There is word of mouth, and that's what I depended on. But I also gave some of the best deals out there. And if you're not sourcing it or building it yourself, sometimes you just can't do that. You can't. There's no margin for you to operate. And so that's why, again, I recommend it. But anyways, he doesn't want to use social media. And he's like, hey, can you send me some pictures or whatever? I said, sure. And then I dropped the ball. I think I flaked for like a day. And most of that is just because the most recent texts are the ones that show up in my text feed. And rather than, like sending me a little reminder or just like, hey, did you forget about me? Like, he assumed the worst, which was that he sent me a message that said, I guess you don't want to do business with me. And it was like a super sad text. And I was just like, so I rejected him. I said, wow, that was really quick. Have it your way. I think I said as you wish, which of course is from Princess Bride. It's a way to say I love you. And I won't deal with him. A couple of reasons why I won't deal with him is, number one, he assumed the worst about me. He assumed that I'm ignoring him and that I'm treating him poorly. That's never somebody that's a good person to have a relationship with. That's the first thing. So the second one was the flag about not willing or being on social media already, and sort of being excited about that. The third one is I'm not here to be your dad. Okay, if you had a bad dad, that's your business. That's not mine. I'm nobody's dad. Hopefully, I don't know. Maybe some skanks will come forward in the future when I blow up, but not right now. The other thing is that again, if you go to make a transaction, and this can be business, this can be a relationship or whatever it is, and you're not prepared, if there's no failure, right? If there's no consequence, especially a negative consequence, then you're not going to learn. Simple as that. Some of you may know this, like with your spouse. So, and this is the case with my spouse. Everybody loves Sherry, but Sherry has a really bad self-esteem. She has really low self-esteem. She thinks poorly of herself. In fact, the more that I love her and the more purely uninterested about sex, purely just interested in her as a human being, the more that I love her in a agape form, the worst she gets. The worse she gets. She doesn't understand why anybody would love her like that. And that, of course, stems from, events that happened in her childhood and the way that she dealt with it and all that kind of stuff. Now, my spouse, Sherry, is the only person that I do that with, where I let it go and I believe in her as a person, and I'm willing to bet and try it again. I've been doing this for 30 years, and I'm fine with that. I do not do that in any other part of my life. I do not do it with family people that I grew up with. I do not do it with, like whatever, any of my siblings or anything like that. I don't do it with them. You have to think to yourself, would I do business with this person? Would I have this person in my life? And the answer for me, it doesn't have to be for you, but for me, the policy is no. I would not have this person in my life. They are toxic. They are, blah, blah, blah. And there's a whole list of things. Now, the thing about my spouse is she wasn't always this way. And also things weren't always this way. And the other thing is I made a commitment to her. So it's like, how serious is that commitment? And, one of the things that I learned in like Omega Vector was, like when you're in a marriage, like how long does the marriage last when there's no more sex? How long does the marriage last when, blah, 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 and then there's like all these obstacles. And of course, on the flip side, you'll see this a lot in comedy when, somebody says, like, oh, I've been married for 30 years. And then the audience claps. They're like, woo, good job. And it's like, well, one of the ways that you get to 30 years is that you just procrastinate getting a divorce. And you're like, oh, that sounds horrible. It's not all fucking bliss, all right? It's not all, I was going to say horseshoes and hand grenades, but it's not all unicorns and muffins, okay? It's a lot of it is work, and also a lot of it is it helps me become a better person. I figure out how to become a better person in that bad environment. I was telling somebody the other day about like bad parenting. Like even bad parents can be good parents, and I don't mean that like what was it? Oh, they're not even open yet. I'll have to go around front. Both of my parents were terrible, selfish, narcissistic, psychopaths. And but as a child, we were Mormons, and so I learned a lot in the church. I learned a lot from other, like scout leaders and just other good people that were in the church, or at least people that were trying to be good. And I learned from them, and also I just had this, for lack of a better word, this song in my heart about things aren't supposed to be this way. Like if I'm going through something painful, things aren't supposed to be this way, even though, I love my dad, but, he was doing stupid shit, or I love my mom, but she's like hitting me. It's important to understand that to separate the two, to separate your ideas and your expectations of someone or something versus reality. And then you have to decide, am I going to suck this up? Is this just a temporary thing? Or is this like permanently shitty and toxic and I should get the fuck out? Right? And that's really like basically the human condition wrapped up in a scenario. And that's what you deal with your whole life. And, there's lots of philosophical solutions to that. In the Mormon religion, they talk about the still small voice, the voice inside your heart and deep in your mind about, what is best for you. And also when it's appropriate to, throw a Molotov cocktail at the Starbucks. When you are prompted by the Spirit, you will know. There's Brian, Stephen. But, so I got to go here soon, but I just wanted to share that with you guys. I realized some videos I don't go back and review. I just post and then I'm like, good, I got that turd out of my mind, and now it's your responsibility. But the one for the JL the other day about selling JL, I realized most of that was about sales and about just make sure you know what you're getting into. Do your research. Sometimes it's sometimes it's good to learn by experience and heartbreak, but I want to let you know that a lot of that is just part of life and part of, it's just part of life. I don't want to say it's part of doing business, but because business is part of life. But just, managing your expectations and also, how much should you hold people accountable? I got to see my niece yesterday, and I'm so grateful to be able to see her, because if you go back a year and watch some of my videos, I am heartbroken. I am mad. I am angry that my niece withheld her and leveraged it. And then, mom was like on board with that too. And it's just very frustrating, or at least mom did not have the, it was not wise for her to express that her daughter, her very daughter, was withholding her other daughter from her. So it was not wise for her to express that publicly. And so she didn't. And her behavior speaks for her now, which was that she brings her over. She lets us see her. She lets me play with her. She lets me love her. And it's just wonderful. Now, back to holding people accountable. I don't really hold the 7-year-old accountable because she's 7. I just do my best to be grateful to be around her, and I'm going to give her lots and lots of chances. Now, when she becomes a teenager, that's when you start going, okay, how, when are you going to be accountable? How many fuck ups are you going to do? So, and then if you look at the rest of the family, right? I did this with all the kids. So I did this with the older sisters. I did this with my nephews. There's a point where, and again, I think a lot of it is just biological. The other part of it is just being in a toxic environment. And when those two are together, those kids don't have a chance. So I do my best to set an example and to let Everly know in a very, what's the word? I let her see my actions. And I let her know by way of my actions that it doesn't have to be that way. And maybe to try again. Like, especially when she gets down on herself or she gets a little OCD or something like that. I do my best to pull her aside and talk to her and let her know that it's okay. It's not that big a deal. Don't make a big deal about it. Last week, we were wrestling, and she lost the back of her earring, and she freaked out. And I was like, if you lost the front, like if you lost the earring, that's difficult. I mean, you can just go to Claire's or whatever. It's fine. But for her, it was a big deal. And I was like, honey, we got extra backs, like, or a pencil eraser or something. Fucking put a potato back there, whatever. But of course, she was not open to that. And for her, it was like a big deal. And it was tough to watch her suffer like that. Because, I knew that it was unnecessary for her to suffer like that. But, I didn't baby her. And, I just sort of had the attitude of, it's not that big a deal. Let it go, let it go, let it go. So, but not until she submits to that, right? The idea of that, whatever, and gets that carefree attitude, is she going to stop suffering? And the best way for people to learn about suffering, that suffering is a choice, and also that life is suffering. So that means life is a choice, right? Here's some deep shit for you on a fucking Thursday. If suffering is a choice and life is suffering, that means life is a choice. Okay? And you can decide how you want to live it. You can decide what kind of attitude you're going to have. Right? Are you going to have a good outlook? Are you going to be positive? Are you going to think about the future? I tell you what, when I start thinking about the future and the possibilities, and moving to a different property, and again, the big goal is going to the moon. Realistically, am I going to go to the moon? Probably not. Okay, but I don't like to think those thoughts. I like to think that I'm going to go to the moon. I think I'm going to have sex with aliens, and why not? They go, "Oh, Patrick, you're delusional." I go, everybody's delusional. Even if you think your dad's going to be there for your birthday, you're delusional, okay? But it's okay. It's all right. It's not that big a deal. So life is a death sentence. So, but you get to decide on how you want to enjoy it and how you want to look at it. So anyways, I love you guys. I'm going to get back to work. I'm going to do a bunch of technical videos. I realized on the JL video that I didn't even discuss any of the physics or the technical details of getting over that monster. I think the biggest thing that I want to do with that, the point I was trying to make with it, is that it's just modular. and you can put any frame on there if you want, and for the most part. I'll go over some of your options, and we'll build something out just for looks, just to kind of mock it up and show you what I can do. And then whether or not we want to import stuff, again, it gets really expensive because the minimum order quantities, I'm not that big. I don't have money. I was able to pay rent. Thank you very much. But now I got 2 weeks to come up with rent again. But as far as rebuilding JL, you cannot be JL, okay? You cannot be JL audio, and that's what the trademarks are for. You cannot be in a position that they are in. Can you create your own position? Yes. Can you piggyback on them? Yes. And you got to be okay with that. All right. If you want to go do what they did, you got to go do what they did. And you don't have a time machine to go back 40 years to do what they did. Okay. So again, are they the best? Absolutely not. No, they are not. They make shit product too. W0, WX, those are shit products. But they say JL on them, and so they charge a premium for them. Now, you don't have to be the one that's dumb enough to buy them. And that's what's great about knowing me and being on this channel and seeing this work. I'm telling you, there's no Santa Claus, okay? But you get to be Santa Claus if you want. See how that works? You can't be JL, but you can create something better. There's room to make something better. There's definitely room to make something better than JL, if that's what you want to be or if that's what you want to do. All right, so I'll talk to you later, though. I love you guys. Thanks for watching. Bye.